I, 28F, have been married to James, 30M, for 3 years now. We met through mutual friends at a company event where he worked as a financial analyst, and I was a teacher at a local high school. His mother, Hannah, 55F, has been against our relationship from the start, mainly because of our different backgrounds. I need to explain some history here. James's father passed away when he was 15, leaving him and Hannah with a substantial inheritance from their family business. Hannah raised James as a single mother and became very protective of him. She managed all their family's wealth and basically controlled every aspect of James's life, from his education to his career choices. She even chose his college major, finance, because she wanted him to manage their family's investments. When James and I started dating 5 years ago, Hannah made it clear that she didn't approve. She comes from old money and couldn't accept that her son was dating someone who taught at a public school. She would constantly remind James about their family status and how he needed someone who understood their way of life. During our dating period, Hannah tried everything to break us up. She set up at least 6 dates with daughters of her country club friends without telling James. She would invite these girls to their house when I was there for family dinners. One time, she even announced at a family gathering that James was engaged to one of these girls, causing a huge scene when James had to deny it. Despite all this, James and I got married. Hannah refused to help with the wedding planning and only attended the ceremony because James threatened to cut contact if she didn't come. Even at our wedding, she wore black and told everyone who would listen that the marriage wouldn't last. The real problems started 6 months ago when we announced my pregnancy. At first, Hannah acted surprisingly happy. She started visiting our house almost every day, always when James was at work. I thought maybe the baby news had changed her attitude, but I was wrong. Her visits always had a purpose. She would rearrange our furniture saying it wasn't safe for the baby. She threw away food from our fridge claiming it was unhealthy for pregnancy. She even tried to convince me to quit my job because no grandchild of hers would be raised by strangers in daycare. Then she started making weird comments about the pregnancy. She would ask questions about my doctor's appointments and insist on coming with me. When I refused, she started telling James that I was being secretive about the pregnancy because I had something to hide. The situation got worse when my cousin Kevin visited from abroad last month. Kevin and I grew up together in another state and he was in town for the first time in years. We met for lunch a few times to catch up, and I didn't think much of it because James knew about these meetings. But Hannah had hired a private investigator to follow me. She took the photos of me and Kevin having lunch and manipulated them to make them look intimate. She created fake text messages between me and Kevin. She didn't know he was my cousin. That made it seem like we were having an affair. She presented all this evidence to James when I was at work. She also included older photos of me talking to male colleagues at school events, claiming I had multiple affairs. She even created a fake email account in my name with messages to Kevin about the baby. James confronted me with everything when I got home. He wasn't angry, he was completely broken. Hannah had spent months convincing him that I was acting differently, that I was being secretive about the pregnancy, and that the timing of everything was suspicious. She had planted so many doubts in his mind that when she showed him the evidence, it confirmed all his fears. I tried explaining about Kevin being my cousin, but Hannah had already told James that I would probably make up some story about him being a relative. James moved out that night and went to stay with his mother. I found out later that Hannah had been planning this for months. She had joined online groups about catching cheating spouses and had been gathering ideas. She had also been telling family members that she noticed suspicious behavior from me, so when everything came out, they were already primed to believe her. I'm 6 months pregnant now, still working full-time, and dealing with all this stress. My parents want me to file for divorce and sue Hannah for defamation. But I know James is also a victim here. He's never been able to stand up to his mother because she's controlled every aspect of his life since his father died. Yesterday, James's cousin Amy called me. She had discovered something important about Hannah's plan, but she wants to meet in person to tell me. I'm meeting her tomorrow, but I don't know if I should even bother trying to fix this anymore. Update: when I met with Amy, like I mentioned in my last post. She showed me text messages from Hannah to her friend where Hannah was bragging about getting rid of me. Amy also told me that Hannah hired someone called Mark Thompson to create the fake messages and photo edits. Mark used to work at their family business and owed Hannah money, so she used that to make him help her. The biggest surprise was about the private investigator. His name is David Chen, and he turned out to be someone who had worked with my dad 15 years ago. When he realized I was Robert Miller's daughter, he came forward with everything. He gave us all the original photos of me and Kevin. He also had recordings of his meetings with Hannah where she specifically asked him to follow me around until he found something that could be used against me. David told us that Hannah had contacted 3 different private investigators before him. The others had refused to work with her because they thought her demands were unethical. She wanted them to break into my phone and email accounts. She even asked if they could plant evidence if they couldn't find any real proof of cheating. I told James about everything through text because he wasn't answering my calls. He finally agreed to meet me at a coffee shop near his office. I brought all the evidence, the original photos, the recordings, and Amy's text messages. James spent 2 hours going through everything. He told me Hannah had been working on him for months before showing the fake evidence. She would call him every day at work to tell him about seeing me with different men. She convinced him I was having mood swings that weren't normal for pregnancy. She even made up stories about seeing me coming out of hotels during my lunch breaks. James admitted that he started doubting me 3 months ago when Hannah told him she saw me at a restaurant with a man. That was actually a parent-teacher conference with a student's father, but Hannah made it sound different. She took photos from outside the restaurant and cropped them to hide that it was a family restaurant and the student was there too. While we were talking at the coffee shop, Hannah showed up. Amy had warned her about our meeting. Hannah started yelling about how I was manipulating her son again. She tried to grab the evidence from the table, and when I stopped her, she pushed me hard enough that I fell off my chair. The coffee shop staff called an ambulance because I was pregnant. At the hospital, they kept me overnight for observation. The baby was fine, but the doctor said I needed to avoid stress. James stayed with me the whole time, and that's when he told me everything about his relationship with Hannah. After his dad died, Hannah had a mental breakdown. She spent 3 months in a hospital, and James had to live with his aunt. When she came back, she became extremely controlling. She wouldn't let James go anywhere without knowing exactly where he was and who he was with. She chose his friends, his clothes, and even his hobbies. James wasn't allowed to date in high school. In college, Hannah picked his girlfriend, the daughter of her friend. When that girl broke up with James because of Hannah's interference, Hannah blamed him for not being good enough. She made him change his appearance, his car, and even the way he talked to match what she thought was proper for their social status. The police came to the hospital to take my statement. They arrested Hannah for assault, but she was out on bail within hours. She started calling everyone in the family, telling them I attacked her first and she just defended herself. Some people actually believed her because she had spent years telling them I was unstable. James finally blocked his mother's number and told her to stay away from us. We filed for a restraining order the next day. But Hannah's sister Linda started attacking us on social media, posting about how we were ungrateful and trying to destroy their family. Linda even contacted my school principal to complain about me. Right now, we're staying at my parents' house because Hannah knows where we live and we don't feel safe there. James is finally seeing his mother for who she really is, but this whole situation has been really hard on him. The court date for the restraining order is next week, and our lawyer said we have a strong case because of the hospital records and the coffee shop security footage. I've also found out that several other women who dated James before me had similar experiences with Hannah. 2 of them contacted me through Amy to share their stories. We're collecting all of this information for the restraining order case. Update 2: A lot has happened since my last update. The restraining order was granted, but Hannah found ways around it. She got her friends to keep track of us and report back to her. She even convinced the security guard at James's office building to tell her when James came and left work. We found out Hannah had been planning everything longer than we thought. Amy discovered emails from a year ago where Hannah was already discussing ways to end our marriage. She had been talking to a woman named Patricia who runs a social media group about protecting sons from gold diggers. The emails showed Hannah had been planning this even before I got pregnant. The emails also revealed that Hannah had contacted 3 of James' ex-girlfriends. She offered them money to say I had threatened them. One of them, Rachel, came forward with screenshots of Hannah's messages. Hannah had offered her $50,000 to say I had stalked her and threatened to harm her if she tried to get back with James. When Rachel refused, Hannah started spreading rumors at the country club that Rachel had stolen jewelry from her house during her relationship with James. But things got worse at James's work. Hannah had donated a lot of money to his company's charity foundation over the years, so she had connections with the senior management. She told James's boss that I was mentally unstable and had threatened to harm myself if James ever left me. She claimed I had faked the pregnancy to trap James and that I was now faking the assault at the coffee shop to get sympathy. Some of James's co-workers started treating him differently. They would stop talking when he entered the break room. His boss suggested he take a leave of absence to sort out his personal issues. When James refused, they moved him to a different department with less responsibility. Hannah also started calling my school again. This time she spoke to parents she knew from her social circle who had kids at my school. She told them I was unstable and shouldn't be teaching children. 3 parents complained to the principal. I had to take early maternity leave because the situation was getting too stressful. Last week, we discovered something that changed everything. Amy was helping us move some of James's old things from Hannah's house when she found Hannah's old journals. The journals showed that Hannah had done similar things to James's father before he died. She had accused him of cheating, turned his family against him, and even tried to get him fired from his job. James's aunt confirmed this. She said their father hadn't actually died from a heart attack like Hannah claimed. He had taken his own life after Hannah's accusations destroyed his relationship with his family and ruined his career. Hannah had managed to keep the real cause of death secret from James all these years. The aunt also told us that Hannah had been in therapy after her husband's death, but she quit after 3 sessions when the therapist suggested she might have a personality disorder. She had been on medication briefly but stopped taking it because she claimed she didn't need it. James broke down completely after learning the truth about his father. He went through his father's old things and found letters his dad had written to him explaining everything, but Hannah had hidden them. The letters warned James about Hannah's behavior and apologized for not being strong enough to protect him from her. We decided to move to another state after the baby is born. James found a job at a different company, and I already have interviews lined up at several schools. We're not telling anyone where we're going except my parents and Amy. Hannah somehow found out about our plans to move. She tried to freeze James's access to his inheritance, claiming he was being manipulated and wasn't mentally fit to manage his finances. Thankfully, James had already moved his money to new accounts she couldn't access. The harassment charges against Hannah are still ongoing. The police are also investigating her for cyberstalking after we discovered she had hired someone to hack my email and social media accounts. Update 3: Our son was born last week, and we named him Daniel after James's father. The birth was complicated because Hannah had found out which hospital we were at and tried to cause problems. She told the hospital staff that I was on drugs and shouldn't be allowed to keep the baby. The hospital had to check their security cameras after Hannah tried to convince a nurse to let her into the maternity ward by claiming she was my mother. We had to move to a different hospital in the middle of my labor. The doctor said the stress made my blood pressure rise, which led to some complications. Both the baby and I are fine now, but I had to stay in the hospital for 5 extra days. Hannah showed up at the second hospital too. She had followed James's aunt who was bringing us some clothes. Security stopped her, but she started screaming in the lobby that we had kidnapped her grandchild. The police arrested her for violating the restraining order. The court date for the harassment charges was supposed to be next week, but now there are additional charges because of the hospital incidents. Hannah's lawyer tried to make a deal, saying she would agree to stay away from us if we dropped the charges and let her see the baby. We refused. James's aunt told us that Hannah has been telling family members that Daniel looks nothing like James. She's been showing people old baby photos of James to prove it. She even tried to get DNA testing companies to send her home testing kits in James's name. Some good news is that James's company transferred him to their office in another state. We're moving next month. We already bought a house there, but we're not telling anyone the address. We had to tell my school and James's company not to give out any information about where we're going. Hannah found my parents' address and started sending packages there. First, it was baby gifts, which we returned. Then she started sending letters saying she would take us to court for grandparents' rights. Our lawyer said she has no case, especially with the restraining order and pending criminal charges. The police found evidence that Hannah had spent over $100,000 trying to break up our marriage. She paid people to create the fake texts and emails, hired multiple private investigators, and even paid a computer expert to hack our accounts. She also paid people to follow us and take photos. James is still dealing with everything he learned about his father. He started reading the letters his dad left, and they explained a lot about Hannah's behavior over the years. His father had documented everything she did, probably knowing James would need to know the truth someday. We're moving in 2 weeks. My parents are helping us pack while James sets up everything at our new place. We decided not to tell anyone except my parents the exact date we're leaving. James blocked everyone from his family except his aunt, and we changed our phone numbers. I never thought my life would turn out like this. I lost my job, had to leave my home, and nearly lost my marriage because of Hannah's lies. But at least now we know the truth, and we can protect our son from her. James says he doesn't want Daniel to ever go through what he went through with Hannah. The police are still building their case against Hannah. The detective said she might face serious charges because of all the evidence they found on her computer. But we're not waiting around for that. We just want to start our new life away from all this drama and give our son a peaceful home.